Good afternoon. I'm just going to briefly talk about what I believe the impact of COVID-19 is going to have on us as business rescue practitioners and our industry. Basically, everybody right now acknowledges. We can move to the next slide, Harun. We've acknowledged that COVID-19 is likely to change our lives forever, and everybody understands, is trying to understand right now, scrambling, trying to understand exactly what changes is gonna happen to us, and what predict how the industry is gonna look going forward. And we're trying to impact what we're also trying to understand is what impact the COVID-19 will have on the current rescues that some of us are busy with right now. So it's a big of there's too much going on right now that for most of us as business rescue practitioners, because we're trying to understand where the industry is, and you're also trying to deal with the company that you are currently under rescue and what is changing, what is going to happen. I mean, generally speaking, one of the things that when you look at the companies that we are going back to, sorry, next slide. In the industry, obviously, there's some bit of, I don't want to use excitement. The word excitement is a bit too harsh, but we all have acknowledged and accepted that, there's going to be a boom in our industry. There's going to be a boom. It's a short to medium term boom, but definitely the business, as Dr. Eric has mentioned, we're going to experience a bit of companies going under distressed. We also, the other thing is, we can move to the next slide. I think I've discussed the points that I've mentioned on this slide. We can move to the next slide. Yeah. One thing we know that the companies that we are currently busy with under rescue, we know we are not going back to the same companies we left 4 weeks ago. All of us, even if you are starting business on Monday, for sure it's not going to be the same. A lot of things have happened during the lockdown. Unless you're in essential service, effectively you had to completely close the doors. And even if you were in essential service, even though you have kept your doors open, they were not open. You were not operating at the appropriate level, at the right level. So internally, you'll find that we're going to go back to finding that there's a lot of anxiety, employee anxiety. Guys they are worried. Some are worried about job security. Are they going to be able to maintain their jobs? Are they going to be able to be paid at the end of the month, etc., and all those things, etc. The other problem we're going to be returning to is that, especially those of us who are busy with rescues in the manufacturing sector, is things like we have some production lines that have to be put on hold. Now, to start some production line, it's not a matter of just turning on the switch and then you get moving. It's going to be a lot of pressure on now. A lot of thinking and creativity will need to go into how do we get the business going and everybody motivated to get the business. The other problem that we're also facing, which is an external, is that we've got COVID-19 is not only going to affect the businesses that we were busy with rescuing, it's affecting our suppliers and the customers that we were dealing with. Customers now on debtors, those are the people who we're hoping that we're going to be recovering cash from and being able to create some cash flows in the business, and to basically let us continue going forward. And then the suppliers as well, like the landlords, they're expecting us to be paid rent. So now there's no sympathy. We're moving back to an environment where there's no sympathy from either direction. You're supposed to be sympathetic to your debtors, but your creditors and suppliers are not sympathetic to you. So it's a bit of a dilemma. So it's going to create now this environment, going back to this environment where it's going to be sluggish and too much pressure, and now a lot of thinking needs to happen as to where are we going back, how are we going to be able to handle this. So how do we then have to handle this situation? I mean, from my perspective, I said, you have to reassess our position. Do we still believe that the position we held prior to the lockdown is still the same? Will we be able to continue with the business rescue as we had anticipated before the lockdown? I think in most cases, it's not going to be the case. It's not going to be the case. So we now need to adapt and our strategy and focus on the new on how to proceed now. So we're now going to have to venture into other territories which we were not looking at, some sensitive territories where, this, for instance, one of the things I'm doing on one of my rescues at the moment is structurally, I need to be engaging the employees during the lockdown to say, we now need to look at structurally cutting everybody's salaries. We understand that this is where everybody was before the lockdown, but now that because of COVID-19, we have to sort of move. It's a very sensitive area, but unfortunately, it has to be addressed if we are going to be able to save that business. So those are the kind of areas where we now need to visit and say, are we going to be able to do that? And as well now, instead of just purely looking at it from a financial perspective, the numbers perspective, now there's a lot of creativity. Entrepreneurial flair needs to come into the whole thing, where you now have to now understand that, it's no longer just about the numbers. It's no longer about just making sure that the cash flows are able to pay, you restructure the cash flows in order to service the debt and get the business operationally going. You now need to sort of, there's a bit of tinge of saying, how do we restructure the entire business? Even sometimes it can even go to the business model to say, to basically get, to get the business going forward. And obviously the other part of it, which is the hard one for the us as business rescue practitioners, is self-assessment. You have to look at yourself. Am I still the right business rescue practitioners to deal with this rescue? And then the other thing is, if I'm still the right one, do I need additional skills? Do I need to bring in additional skills into the business to assist with the rescue? And then that adds another dynamic. If you're bringing additional skills to the business, the question is, can the business actually afford it? So those are the kind of dilemmas, some of the dilemmas that, when you're, I'm personally experiencing and, I have to deal with in the current rescue. And obviously now the effect on my view on the effect of the future, on the future of the rescue, of the rescue industry, next slide, is that going forward, because of this change, we are actually we find ourselves in a position where business rescue practitioners, we're going to have to become very selective in accepting rescues. As I mentioned previously, is that rescues are no longer going to be just about rearranging the cash flows and the assets and the liabilities of the business to make sure that you are able to service, as an entrepreneurial flair is going to come in, where innovation might actually be necessary. At the moment, it's not that we don't have it. It's just it's going to probably becoming a bit more of an important aspect of a rescue, because you are dealing with something that has never happened before. We are going to be dealing with something that has never happened before. And I start to believe that there's going to become a lot of convergence between business rescue and turnaround, in the sense that, we might find that now people, specialization in industry specializations might actually come. I'm not saying it might happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen in the near term, in the short to medium term. But in the long term, you'll find that, if you specialize in a certain industry, that's where you're going to become. And that will enable now that knowledge of industry knowledge, and in order for people to keep abreast with the industry and understand what's happening in that industry. So maybe that specialization might actually start to factor in, and which is going to change the industry. We're no longer going to become GP. We might no longer be just general practitioners where there's a rescue, I'm going to go in and I'll sort it. You need to sort of understand the industry you're going to be involved in and really get into the meat of the industry. So yeah, I think that's for me from that side. In conclusion, what do I think? What impact what impact is this going to have in the industry, in the entire industry? Well, my crystal ball is as good as yours, so I'm not going to be able to say this is where the industry is going. And if anybody will be able to say that, well, I'd really love to hear what everybody's going to say. But what do I do? The best thing that you can do is you stay informed, keep abreast, understand what's happening in the global perspective, learn from past crises. It's not the same, but there are definitely similarities. The members on the panel with more gray hair than me will tell you that definitely there are similarities there are certain similarities that if you then address those similarities, you will be able to deal with the current crisis as well, and then adapt and then embrace change. So for me, that's basically where I'm at. It's like, just stay informed, understand, to be involved and understand where the industry, which direction, wherever your current risk is going, and the industry as a whole, and then embrace the change that's about to happen to the industry. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. That's my presentation.
Thanks, Denga. I think the one theme I got from your presentation is that there's opportunities out there. There's opportunities out there for us as business rescue professionals, if I can call it. There's opportunities out there for people who are interested in restructuring companies. But I think the other theme is that we all need to think out of the box. I think the one clear message that must come out of today's session is we can't think like pre-COVID days. We need to think a little bit more out of the box. And I see the questions are flooding in, and they're also aligning themselves towards how do we get to thinking out of the box?